Right. So this is for those that may be coming onto Facebook. I just want to mention, you can see what we are going to have this Saturday Sabbath service um, on the days of Noah. And we are having it every Saturday. We used to have a Sunday service, but we have since, which I'll go a little bit into why we made a decision that we did to now have a Saturday Sabbath, in that we feel that we are more in alignment on the seventh day, which has to do with the Ark of the Covenant. And we are in the time of choices. And I really got to talk a little bit about that because it's the same time as with Noah. It was about the choices and what we're going to align ourselves with. And not to take away from, for years I've gone on Sunday service. It's what's in your heart. And it is the people that's the church. It's not some hierarchy or buildings or any of that. It's the people and what's in your heart. So it's not really such a big deal if Saturday or Sunday, but for us, we chose to start doing it on Saturday as we feel we would be more in alignment with that. So I'm going to start off first, of course, with a prayer, and I like to say prayer to the archangels, to the angelic realm, to the devas. That realm is parallel to our own, as we go through this ascension process and our own evolution. And they have their job as we have ours, and they work with us. And it is really good, like anything else, thought. Energy follows thought. So to start creating a link, just like how you would exercise your physical body or particular muscle, the same thing with your spiritual muscle. Your intention is so powerful. And that is why whatever you do, whatever you want to say, you have to stop and become conscious and not unconscious. You have to find out what is the root of what's going to come out of my mouth or that thought. What is the root? Okay, because we have to know now, no longer walking as unconscious beings, but really choice. And if we choose to say that we want to come from a place of unconditional love, which is what the Divine Mother, her presence is coming in. That's a whole nother story I have to tell you about. But she gave guidance and says, during these times, I want to say these are the times of Noah. She said, Divine Mother said, walk the middle path, non-judgment. That's a hard one. Non-judgment, unconditional love. Because she said she needs someone, the light workers, to hold the polarities into balance. And this was 10 years ago. She said that the polarities were going to be in the extremes again, meaning another circling around again. So we're here. We show up, as the Ascended Masters always say, thank you for showing up, because we are the ones that are awake, awakening, have some sort of cosmic memory, have a connection to our soul or our soul's urge, our soul's pulse that is pulling us into a direction. And we really got to nurture that. It's like a muscle. We really got to pay attention to that. I have done so many exercises, when I was younger, because of course, like all of us, the monkey mind and all the distractions. And I always had that other part that, whatever your baggage or your issue is, self-esteem, or I'm not worthy enough, or there's a whole list. It was like saying, oh, what are you doing? Who do you think you are? I used to physically go, shh. I did it physically for a long time until I don't have to do that anymore, till I had some sort of control over that part that was pulling me away from trying to stay into my higher alignment. So whatever tools that you have, that you use, it's all good. The idea is that you want to come back on center. You want to come back in your divine alignment and your connection. I want to talk a little bit about the vertical because that came up this week in a very, very big way. And the vertical has to do with our alignment as opposed to horizontal, and I'll talk to that in just a moment. But before I get started, I want to start off with a prayer to the archangels. So if everybody here who's hearing these words, or whatever time that you may be hearing these words, just stop a moment now, because we are fully going to be engaged in this divine sacred energy that is now beginning to anchor in this unity of hearts and minds together that has stepped up in terms of trying to be the best version of ourselves that we can be, trying to or striving, to do more and be more of the light that we are. All those little steps, whichever way they go for you uniquely, okay, is bringing in this divine sacred singularity, a grand convergence to bring forth the divine plan. What is the divine plan? That's why we're here. The divine plan is an orchestrated plan to bring this planet and all of her life out of imbalance, out of suffering, okay, out of the wars, out of the distortions and the miscreations. And there's a whole story about that I'm going to be doing a class on. I'll talk about later on. But for right now, all we are doing here is being present. And as the Ascended Masters say, showing up. So with each and every sacred in-breath and out-breath that we take now, we now say this prayer. Michael, 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 may the guardian angels from the heavenly legions stand forth for all to see. Purify, illumine, manifest the glory of light's perfection, that each one may be. Jophiel and Chamuel, Gabriel and Raphael, Uriel and Zachiel, and mighty host of light, cherubim and seraphim, from the realms of glory, rend now the veil that dims our human sight. Blessed archangels, for illumination, we invoke now thy presence, divine protection, divine guidance. In hymns of praise to thee, keep us consecrated to God's plan fulfilling. In purity, thy ministers be. Amen, 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 and amen. Well, I wanted to start off by saying, and in Matthew, which I mentioned in the write-up of the description of what this service was going to be, is where Jesus the Christ said that there would be a time in the future when he said this, that there would be the days of Noah returning again. He said that. And I guess I'm going to start off with why I have done so much research in the past couple of months, as we all have. I think with the coronavirus, there's many layers, no matter what. In the end, all things work for good for those who love God. Just remember that. So no matter how that came about, why that came about, natural or not natural, intentional or unintentional, doesn't matter. It's here, but no matter what it is, we are great alchemists. We have to remember who we are, and we are great alchemists and can take anything that comes our way and transmute it, okay, into a higher, beneficial, loving experience. And so this, for people who know me, I'm busy all the time, and I am still busy, but not at the level that I was busy before, because coronavirus, of course, has come in and had to slow things down, which is a blessing. Because no matter what, there is a blessing in everything, And one of my favorite quotes, my brother and I used to say this all the time, in the midst of difficulty lies opportunity. And again, it's your intention, it's your thoughts, they're so powerful. And yes, it's not just a simple yes or no, but it plays a huge part in how things manifest in your light. And so you can choose to become an independent and spiritually connected human that runs on their own timeline, where your experience will be unique, say, to others. And so what was being said here now is that in this time of Noah, that there are going to be the extreme polarities, and that corruption, just blatant. This is in the time of Noah. I would dare say that we are experiencing that now, that there's not even an effort to disguise the corruption. There is, and I will say this, and I'll go more into it in this class that I'm going to do, which I'll tell you about in a bit, but I was hoping it was not really true, that the level of evil intent out there, that is a much larger scales that you can imagine, that on much higher levels, it's very focused and concentrated, and so that's, histories of blood sacrifices and handing children over and all of that. That is not coming from a benevolent God. That is not coming from the source of creation, which is unconditional love. So there's a whole story as to where these separation from light, I would say, came from. And there's many ancient wisdoms that talk about what happened and why things are the way they are on a higher aeon and galactic level. But for our level here right now, let's suffice to say that we are in a time where, again, not new or unique, we've reverted back. Most of humanity that's not awake, that's being manipulated, don't know that they're being manipulated, okay? And to cause this chaos that we find in this world, and this true suffering. There's no question about it. There's suffering. Why is the suffering? Disease, you have war, you have addictions, you have separations, family, communities, all of these things that cause the human condition to be dimmed, not as bright as it could be. Anybody now, particularly now, we're in a world that we can see what's going on around the world, or sense and know what's going on around the world. Is there some manipulation in that? Of course there is, but you use your discernment. But we know enough to know that there are things out there, that are just not good. They're not good, and many is deplorable. And so we're back into this where these revelations are coming out. Many people didn't know for a long time. Look at all the stuff that's coming out that people didn't know before. And they're horrified. They're like, what? Is this really going on? Oh my goodness, really? Yeah, it is. And so we have come to a point where we have to first make a decision. And so in Revelations 3:16, it says, so because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. Well, that was Jesus basically saying, you can't be on the fence now. You can't be on the fence. And that's one of the reasons with the anchoring light meditation, we used to, put it out there for everybody, but was guided not to. Like now we just have to do it on Zoom. I speak a few minutes, but when we start, because it has to be a choice. It has to be a choice what you're going to align yourself with. Right now, during these days, okay, where it is so easy to become polarized, so easy to demonize the other side. But if you come back as the independent observer, as his divine mother said, and just observe what's going on, you will see that the same exact energies, the same passions and the same, demonizing of the other side is happening on both sides. So I want to tell you what I'm doing, what I did, because I've become very, very conscious of I can no longer just make decisions, not know where it's rooted in. As I begin to learn more, and this is just my personal journey, I have to align myself. That's going to help me to stay more aligned with the higher part of myself and into the higher realms of light of which we all come from. And I'm very, very focused on returning there at the highest level that I can. And I made the decision that as opposed to affiliate with a particular party, Republican or Democrat, okay, I'm just going to be an independent. I'm actually going to go and do what it is I need to do and just say I'm independent because I'm on neither side. I'm on neither party. I'm in the middle. I'm walking the middle path. I'll make the best choice in the moment that I will do at that time. So these are like little things right now that we can do. These are actions that we can do that not for anybody else. This is just for us, what we feel we can do to continue to raise our energy, because it's important that we do that, because there are things out there that are just snapping to pull you down. And we must pray for El Gabora, the strength of God. And again, it's that muscle. It's not falling into the traps. It's being strong. It's being clear. It's stopping. It's doing your spiritual practice. It is walking the path of righteousness. And I would say that that is pretty much what I would call the overall, if I had an overarching theme as to what to do in these times. And these times in the short run are not going to get better. Now, I'm not the one, I'm the ultimate optimist. And believe it or not, yes, we have the power to adjust some things, or at the very minimum, mitigate some things. But there's some things that in cause and effect has already started. It's just there, but we can most certainly mitigate it, which is why all of us here now, we're showing up. As the Ascended Master, we're showing up right now. What can we do to make things better? What can we do? And so one of the things that we can do is what I call just walk the path of righteousness. I mean, righteousness, with Melchizedek, you have the order of Melchizedek. You have a lot of different orders in the higher ascendant realms. Okay, the order of Melchizedek, which is the priesthood, that is the office of the Christ. Jesus comes from the order of Melchizedek. There are many others that come from the order of Melchizedek. It was all about what? Righteousness. So what should we be doing? Every decision that we make must be a righteous decision. Is this coming from the highest part of myself? Is this the best decision for myself? How will it impact others? Because it's always going to be about the others. This is not a solo journey. It is a collective journey. And we are part of the whole. So all of us have to be engaged in doing this. So in Revelations 3:16, Jesus is saying, hey, you're going to have to decide, okay, and align yourself, okay, with choices that are going to keep you on the path of righteousness. Also, let me tell you this. In the days of Noah, it is not for the faint of heart. It is not. But you have to understand that you're not alone, because I will tell you the truth, and I've always said this, honestly, my best friends don't have bodies. The ones that I love and I trust the most, okay, that I feel comforted by, don't walk around with physical bodies. We are never alone. And you have to remind yourself that you're not alone. You have your whole family of light with you. And so whether you want to say your ancestors, saints, ascended masters, angels, the rishis, there's so much out there that is the family of light. It is going to be those forces that I call the anti-human forces. They are the anti-human forces. They've been around since the beginning, most certainly before our Earth. Things happen on much higher levels that is affecting us now, which we're a part of. But we also have to know that we don't have to say, oh, we don't have any power and we don't have any control. Wrong. You do. And together as a group, oh my gosh, we are such a bright light. And I will tell you, dear brothers and sisters, do you know that we have been diverting World War III? There are prophecies that talked about World War III was supposed to happen like, 10 years ago. It is the family of light has come together, and we've been praying. We've been anchoring the light. We've been coming together in small groups or big groups. We've been donating, supporting certain things that, help your not-for-profits that are helping people around the world. We have changed a timeline. And right now, in these days of Noah, it's still malleable, meaning that we are in shifting timelines right now. That is super bubbling clear. Because many years ago, I was shown like the game show, The Price is Right. Many of you may know that show, The Price is Right. And it had door number 1, door number 2, and door number 3. And I was shown very clearly that, we're going through the door. We have to ascend. That's beyond, nobody can stop that. That's going to happen. But our experience is something that we have an ability to impact. So door number 1, nice and smooth, not too bad, some little adjustments. Door number 3, real bumpy road. Door number 2 is medium between the two. I'm rooting for door number 2. I'm rooting for door number 2. The collective unconscious and humanity, oh my gosh, really, kind of thick to get through as a species. So I'm rooting to get through door number 2, and we can. But no matter what, this is where we have to come from. And this is the good news. When you align and you truly strive, and I would say that one of the blessings that I have received, and everybody gets blessed, like whatever spiritual practice that you do and you commit to it. I do the anchoring light. I commit every Monday, okay, over 13 years. Because I'm busy and I can't do a bunch of other things. And I'm not that disciplined. I'm really not. I'm not the disciplined person. So I said, well, I could do one thing for sure, every Monday I could commit to that. But whatever it is that you do, your spiritual practice, you walk, whatever it is, it moves you in the direction of your unfolding on enlightenment and unconsciousness to where you tap into this higher level of yourself. So for me, I have no fear, none at all. And I just know, well, first of all, you have to get over the fear of death. That's number 1. So, for those of us that know that life is eternal, Jesus the Christ spoke of it and so many other avatars of light, it's eternal. So, that's one check, for those that don't know, that is, of course, a very fearful thing, the unknown. But our role here now, particularly in these days of Noah, is to make the unknown known. Is to make the unknown known. And if any of us are holding any fears in any kind of way, then you need to embrace those fears. Now, I'm not talking about discernment. And of course, there's a mechanism in the body that says danger. You listen to that. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about self-limiting fears, many of which, when you embrace that and get beyond it, you say, oh, wow, that wasn't so bad. And again, I'm always going to come back to say, we don't have to do this by ourselves. I know, like, for example, forgiveness. In the Open Heart Divine Healing Service, we talk about forgiveness. And that's easier said than done, because there are deep wounds that run through lineage. They run through tribals. There are wars because of wounds that happened 3,000 years ago or 500 years ago. That thought form, that wounded thought form a group of people are tapped into, are still doing wars and have animosity against their neighbor And they grew into families that the little kids like each other, but were told you can't interact because, again, separation coming in, the idea that we're separate. And right now, there are those other levels that want this thing to happen. And we who are awake and awakening need to say enough is enough is enough. And no. So how do you do that? By getting yourself aligned and anchored strongly. Okay. And when you do, you become like a sun. You're so bright. You walk. Let me tell you what I tell light workers, particularly now, you're being called on duty because there's such depression. There's such, this heaviness in the world. People are grieving, people are suffering. There's so much. So you work on yourself, okay? And whichever spiritual discipline that you have, you strive. You don't realize this, but in other levels, that's how disincarnated spirits, particularly ones that are earthbound, they can see the light. They can tell a medium because a medium has certain colors. And in higher realms, we're actually orbs. We don't come in this. We look different. We have different colors and geometries and all kind of things. So when you, particularly now in these days of Noah, you say, you know what, I'm really going to be conscious that what I am doing, that I am sticking on this road of righteousness. I'm going to be conscious of what is exactly my intention. Is it coming in the right place? And a lot of times we'll say, I do it all the time. So, I don't know if I'm coming from the highest part with that. I want to revert into a pattern that I've had. And I'm saying, or I bring attention to a part of myself or flaw. I said, I need to look at that. And not only look at that, I need to adjust it. Okay, I need to adjust it. And when you start to do, the entire environment around you changes. And what you don't realize is that you then have the ability, as you heal yourself, as you open yourself up, okay, to the higher spiritual dynamics of your path, as you listen to your soul urge, as your soul pulse, your light gets brighter and brighter and brighter. Your whole physical, mental, and emotional body changes. We are alchemists. Our bodies are amazing. If it is in alignment, okay? I'm not talking about all the poisons and what's going on in this world. Look how our bodies can still manage with all the crap that they're doing. To try to poison us, and all kinds of things are happening. Look how powerful our bodies are. I'm just saying that, and our mental and emotional bodies with all the things that come in that are anti-human or anti-supportive, we're still standing. I think that's amazing. We are resilient, but we are master alchemists. And so as we become awake and say, hey, I'm not going to go ahead and revert. Like, for example, you're looking at the news, okay, you already know that you're not going to get to the point of rage where you want to kick into TV. No, we don't do that. Okay, we have to be the independent observer, look at everything, discern everything, make our own decisions, but not where the emotional body is like this. And that emotional body to get us like that is purposeful, I promise you. So don't fall into the trap. So all these little adjustments that you do on your path of light, on your journey to your soul's urge, push the higher parts of yourself, your higher self, the higher chakras, okay? Your love of God, your love of service, you looking at the world and saying, no, something is not right. And I must do something. Okay, and we always say, do what you can, where you can. Do you realize that you bring in and we anchor those higher parts of ourselves that are brilliant? That's when people say they see a near-death experience, they may see Jesus Christ or the radiant beings of light. They're radiant. They're just radiant. You can't even see their faces right. They're just so radiant. Well, those parts start to anchor our own higher radiance starts to anchor. So you could walk into a store, and I had this experience a couple of years ago. You could walk into a store and um, somebody is there, or the whole area is not depressed, down. People just, their heads are down. It's just another day, all robotic. And you could look at somebody and smile. That's all you have to do. Just a glance and smile. If you could see and higher levels what that's like, it is a literal transfer of loving light to that individual that upholds them. It's amazing. See, we can't see the impact that we have because our light spectrum is this, when the light spectrum is this. So there's more going on in the invisible world. Oh my gosh, that's where all this stuff is going on in the invisible world, beyond our perception. Okay, and that's where the faith comes in and all of that, cannot see, but it's there, and to trust that small voice that's in there, that you are a light. Can you imagine, especially now, that there are those, and there are those around the world, light workers are around the world, the star seeds, the wanderers, okay, we good people with good hearts around the world are coming together, and we're not going to fall for the anti-human dynamic. And you always have to question yourself, is this the best for everybody? What is the motive? And as you do this, your discernment becomes fine-tuned, fine-tuned. So I remember, just to share a quick story, this was a couple of years ago, and a friend of mine had, she had an art show, and it was in this particular area. The neighborhood was, not the super best. A lot of addictions there and so forth, and crime. Anyway, I went into like a 7-Eleven or some store like that, had a gas station, and as soon as I walked in, the energy was just really, really, dark and oppressive. And there was a lady there, trying to get cigarettes, and it looked like she was very, high, and she couldn't do it. And then there was this young guy, and I'll never forget it, just a young guy standing there. And he looked, like there was no hope, that what's the use of living, just standing there. And I walked by, and he looked at me. He might have been on the drugs, that might have helped it. And he said to me, "You're an angel. What are you doing here?" I looked at him, and I just smiled at him, but his eyes were like wide. What it is, he felt the energy. He felt the energy. And all of us now need to be beacons of light. That's our job. We're to be beacons of light, because there's going to be a need for it. So as I was saying, in Matthew 7:13-14, and I have to say this, I am not a biblical scholar. I never have been. My background was brought up Catholic, and they weren't as much into the scripture. They were like, we'll read it and we'll tell you. But I have, in recent years, really have gotten more into scripture and embracing it. And again, what is scripture? You read it on many different levels. So they had where the priesthood would read it, and then you had the common people would read it. It's on many levels. And as you strive, all you have to do is strive. You just have to start the path and keep on striving. And it takes you where you need to get for your next step, your next step, and your next step. But what I wanted to say, I wanted to quote Matthew 7:13-14. Jesus said, "Enter through the narrow gate, for wide the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it." That's important for us to think about it. And again, one of my favorite personal Bible scripture is in John 15:19. And it says, and I say this all the time, We are in the world, but we are not of it. I'm sure many of us who are listening to this right now can relate to that because we all feel like aliens on this planet, I'm sure. In the world, but not of it. So I wanted to talk a little bit also about the book of Daniel, and they talk about the statue. You can look this up. I'm not going to go through the whole statue, but it was different parts of this statue. I think it was Nebuchadnezzar that had the dream as one of those kings. Anyway, I'm not sure, but anyway, you can find it. But it's this statue, and it was Daniel was the one that telling him interpretation of dreams what it meant, and it was really on a global level. And so we are now at the feet part. We've gone through all these different tribes, and we're now at the feet. And if you look, and for those of people who know a bit of scripture and you want to do the calculations, it'll bring us to where we are right now, exactly where we are right now. So there's no other statue. We're at the feet. This is it. This is it right now. And so this is what all of prophecy from all different cultures are speaking about the time right now. And one of the things I wanted to mention to you why I know this in my bones. And, at first you're like, oh no, are you kidding me? Is this really real? No, it's not going to happen until another 100 years, right? Another 1,000 years. It's not in my lifetime. Well, I did say I was going to share this dream that I did receive. It was a couple of weeks before COVID-19. And I was shown an ark, and thus I have the picture of the ark. And it was like a 21st century ark. So the wood was just this beautiful wood. And how it comes from the higher realms is that the angles are just perfect. When you're in those higher realms, everything is perfect. It's not like here. So this was a massive, massive ship. Okay, it was huge. It was gargantuan, actually. And I'm on the shore, and it looks like it was Earth. I'm not sure, but the guide is right there with me, and he's showing me this ark. It's beautiful, but it's gigantic, and the angles are perfect. I go inside this ark, and I'm in a hallway. It's full of light. That's how I know it's in the higher realms. And I can see the little porthole, and standing to where I am to the right are the doors that go into like the cabins if you're on a cruise ship. And he said, this ship can hold many, many people. That's what was said. And then after that, I realized it was not just a dream. It's more significant. I've had some of these in my past. But then also, I was like, a little foreboding with it. I'm like, what does the dream of the ark means? Noah ark. And is there some kind of rescue or, there's some kind of ending and beginning? Well, then COVID-19 came I think it was 4 weeks later. But then this is the good news. There was a second dream that I believe that's related to this one. And that's where I saw a tree. Now, this tree came in threes. First, I saw one tree, and it was a beautiful tree. It was green, and it was vibrant, and the life force was going on. Then it grew a second time. And again, just magnificent and beautiful, and the life force, and the green, I can't even describe how green it was. It was the greenest green I've ever seen. And then a third time, so it was 1, 2, 3 tiers. I believe that has to do with the tree of life. And we are all now for sure on the ascension path. And in this time of Noah, their beloved brothers and sisters, we are now ready to walk that narrow path that Jesus spoke about. And one of the things that Jesus also said, and I have to find the quote, I don't have it, but I'm going to do this more than once, is where he says, there will be those who will understand. There'll be those who will understand. Not everybody's going to understand, but there will be those that will understand. Now, in Revelation 13, I'm not going to go into all of that, but it talks of the four horsemen and all of that. But suffice to say that right now, we are, it is interesting. My mother who lived to almost 103, she was 102 and 8 months. Before she passed, she told me, she says, we are in the days of revelation. And all I can say is that there is this convergence now coming together that indicate that this is a very important time. It is a great opportunity for a great ascension now, but light workers need to show up, okay, walk on their path, do their part, because just as fierce is the anti-human or the dark agenda. And I just want to talk a little bit about this. There has been absolutely 100%, there's no question in my mind about it. It's nothing new. It's just been veiled for us and we don't see it perhaps as we did maybe thousands of years ago, of people, you want to call them the dark magicians or people who have the anti-human agenda because their report to a higher level of consciousness that is the anti-light, we can say, or the anti-human, or has their own objective, which is corruption and greed and power, the same crap that happens in our level. As above, so below, as above. This is the deal. We, as light workers, are more powerful than we could even imagine. And I've always gotten that, is that, oh my gosh, if humans could only see, you know, who they are and the power that they have. And a lot of it through our own choices, but also a lot of manipulation, going on higher levels, which has been going on for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. The Roman Empire has not left, okay? There are those that still want control, okay? But there is a higher divine plan. That's the thing, is the divine plan. And even in the days of Noah, there was a plan. Yeah, you're going to get away with this stuff for this, but we have a higher plan to get things back, ideally, okay, into this ascension process where we don't have to keep on repeating this over and over and over again. So we want to be very discerning, very, very discerning on our choices and what energies we allow in our space. It's really important what we participate in. Now, there are things that, we have to use for a tool. Am I the biggest, fan of Facebook? No, I'm not. However, it's a tool for good, just as it could be a tool for not good. Okay, so as we meander, through these times, we just want to stay anchored in that vertical. Now, let me just share one other thing, and then we're going to be coming towards the end of this service. And this just came up recently. So in October, November, I was actually in Nashville, Tennessee. You never know when a huge download is going to happen. You just don't know. And you must always be open to it. You can't prejudge anything. It can happen at any time. But suffice to know that it was a download, which I now look back to say, the dream came and COVID was coming and get the technology together and all of that. But something else came in. It was about the imbalance connected to Atlantis. And I'm like, wow, Atlantis. And yeah, that timeline is still and has been part of the earth, and my understanding, and you get things in bits and pieces. You don't necessarily understand everything at the same time. I'm sure all of you that are listening know what that's like, but that's where you say, okay, I'll take the first step. That's what they say, just move in that direction, then it'll unfold. We're there, it'll all unfold. And what has happened, and I know our dear Reverend Robin Richardson is on this Zoom in this service, is that I was going to go to Bimini, was making plans to go to Bimini to a particular portal that's Atlantean. So, and the Ascended Masters, we're talking about go and do this prayer. And I would always say the thing to do would be the names of God, because they're so powerful. Using the names of God, we do use the names of God in the Open Heart Divine Healing Service. And pray over this portal and make plans to do that. Well, COVID-19 came. And in fact, I was quite upset. I'm like, oh no, this timeline, we didn't get to do it in time. But of course, everything is at a divinely appointed time. But what I did not know is about Bok Tower. And so Bok Tower, which is in Florida, is actually in Lake Wales, Florida, is connected to Atlantis, as is the west coast here of Florida. Siesta Key has all the quartz crystals. So this whole section over here, there is according to Dr. J.J. Hurtak, there is a pyramid out there in this section here, into the Gulf of Mexico, our area over here. So, and that all goes down to the Caribbean and all of that stuff. So there's something of very Atlantean energy in the area. And very synchronistically, I get a telephone call from a lady I don't know, and she's telling me she has to come to our area because it's all about Atlantis. I mean, who could make this stuff up? Anyway, long story short, when speaking to Robin and saying we have to go to Bok Tower and do what we were going to do for Bimini. So see, this is where you have to be discerning, you have to listen, because this is the vertical. You can't be like this, because you won't get this, you won't get the information. So that is so important, to stay balanced, whatever you need to do to keep that balance so you can get the vertical coming in, which is the information. And I said to her, and we need to be a group. One person does not know it all. That's why the group is so important. And I said to her, I said, we have to go to Bok Tower because we have to do a spiritual ceremony over there and use the names of God. And it has to do with the imbalances. And I said, it has to do with the ark of the Divine Mother, something with the Divine Mother. And of course, Robin says, oh my gosh, I'm getting a hit on what that is. And the names of God, which I wasn't even thinking of saying, the names of the Divine Mother and the names of the Divine Father. It is the divine, the mother energy, or the mother arc, okay, that needs to come in. And she comes in a diamond. Now listen to this. I had a whole experience connected with Robin again when I went on her, it's like a meditation bed where the music runs through you. I had a whole, experience with that, where I did see the Divine Mother. And that's where, to keep the polarities in balance I spoke about before, that's when that happened. I saw her in an ethereal temple, and it was in a diamond. And so our whole multiverse is geometry. Okay, and we have little parts of the geometry that's coming in from higher levels. And apparently something with it's the vertical and the diagonal that's sort of been intercepted, or the grid got something happen, that we already know we're a fallen world. We're a fallen world. And ladies and gentlemen, I was so distraught when I found this out. We're not only a fallen world, we're a fallen universe. So as I said, there's many things going on in higher levels. But this angle, vertical and diagonal, of the Divine Mother is what needs to be readjusted or aligned or reconnected. And somehow, I don't know the whole story, okay, but somehow, Bok Tower, as good as Bimini, we come there to reconnect this structure, this divine structure, for the Divine Mother to anchor in more deeply, because that's what's causing the imbalance. And of course, we know the imbalance between male and female. So I know there's some people here that they want to ask some questions, and that's fine. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. Okay, and yes, I'm seeing some, I'm going to get to that. You know, was when I'm in the flow, it just flows, so I can't really stop. But I'm getting to that part where I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to do a shout out to everybody and say, guess what? On September 12th, we're going to Bach Tower. Okay, and we're in the process of organizing that right now. We're going to report for duty. We're going to do the whole ceremony. We're going to bring the crystals. We're going to use the names of the Divine Father and Divine Mother and get some balance back from this thing that comes all the way back from Atlantis. So if anybody resonates to the whole Atlantean thing, many of us have had that lifetime. So I'm sure you know what we're talking about. And many of us have been doing energetic medicine and all of that is because we've had that lifetime where we can do that. So just be sure to check into the Cosmic Center Spiritual Light website, and you'll see the whole information. I'm probably going to get that out by the end of the week, but I just wanted to get that in there. One more thing, and that is about the angles. Why did this resonate so strong to me? It's because several years ago, I don't know, it's years, decades, I don't know anymore, but at any way, in the past, I was shown pretty much like how I had the whole arc experience. Again, a guide is showing me, it was a lucid time. It was a tube, and it was like the kind of clear plastic ones you could kind of see through. So if you could imagine a lava lamp, okay, but horizontal, and it's like going like this. And as I'm observing it, the idea was like it needed to be balanced. You know, it was just rocking back and forth because there was the idea was that it needed to be balanced for this vertical to go up. But the vertical could not go up because this was going back and forth. And what I was told is that humans, and oh my gosh, this is so accurate, humans are being manipulated through their emotional body. And they also told me that this manipulation comes from the back of the head energetically through the reptilian brain, and something about a seed thought of the seed thought is like your basic survival, but humans have advanced over that. They don't need that anymore, but somehow energetically, we are all being manipulated in this way. And we are absolutely being manipulated. And that's why your spiritual practice is important. And our beautiful Reverend Annie, I just want to share some things that are coming up. Reverend Annie tomorrow is having a 3-part psychic self-defense. We have to wrap ourselves in light. We have to do mantras. We have to do that because we're a light. Yeah, we're a light, but guess what? We're going to attract too. Okay, but then you just have to remember how fearless you are, because who is on your side? You have the whole family of light. You have the Amin Shaddai. Okay, you have Jesus the Christ. Nobody's messing with this guy, let me tell you. And what about the archangels and about all of that? So again, you have to keep this in memory, like, excuse me, you know, I don't think so. All right, and you have to be so sure about that has to go. It has to go. And I could tell you experience after experience with that. So you could be the brightest light that you can be, okay, fearlessly, because they got your back. They absolutely got your back. So let me just see if I got everything that I wanted to say. Oh, yes, so Reverend Annie is going to be in Zoom, and is actually going to be in person too, with the social distancing, at the Cosmic Center Spiritual Light, which is located in Sarasota, Florida. So, but she is excellent. She is very good in this particular area and has done, you know, just study. And I know Annie, and she's phenomenal. So you will get, I do the middle pillar spiritual practice every day. that comes from Kabbalah, that has been so powerful for me, using the names of God. So she's going to go through many different ones that you can use and see if you resonate with it and you can incorporate it into your spiritual practice. The other thing I wanted to mention to you is next Sunday, we will have our own beautiful Reverend Robin. And she's always amazing. She did a thing on the Colburn Bible. How many of you have heard of the Colburn Bible? I don't think too many. It has such amazing information that talks at this time of the unborn ones speaking to us way back in the ancient past. This is just mind-blowing stuff. As you get into this, it's like, it's just so amazing. It's like you just realize how big, how magnificent, how awesome everything is. And somehow you're all part and connected to this. And then the other thing I wanted to say, this is going to be the first time I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live class. Different now. Facebook has it where you can do an event and only those people who choose, that I'm charged, it's like $4.99 because I want everybody around the world. And we have a global market now. And I'm talking to everybody around the world, to be part of this. I'm going to do a class on what's really going on planet Earth, a cosmic answer. And I'll be going a bit into the Gnostic Gospels, other ancient writings like the Book of Mani that speak of the story, the cosmic story. So if you go to Cosmic Center Spiritual Light Facebook page, you will see it there. And it says what's really going on planet Earth. And you can click, and that's going to be next week, Saturday at 3 o'clock. First time using this new technology. So some technology is good for sure, because it brings us as a global community. Others, transhumanism, very careful, very, very careful, very careful with that. We'll probably do a whole talk on that at another time. Okay, so that's it for now. I'm going to look. I see we have a couple of hands up. Let me first go to Kelly. Kelly, I'm going to allow you to talk. Kelly, would you unmute Kelly? Unmute Kelly. Did you want to say something, Kelly Sheehan? Okay, let me know if you want to. Kelly, you have to unmute yourself if you do. Okay, then Kim Converse. Kim, hi Kim. Kim, would you unmute? Okay, so I'm not seeing hands were raised, but they're not unmuting. All right, so I'm now going to go to, all right, says your energy can help transform others in a good way, which is emotional alchemy. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I just want to say, if Kim and Kelly want to talk at any time, just unmute yourself and you can talk. And then I have here, that was from, I don't see the full name, R.O. Let's see if I see R.O. here. And then we have from Art and Carol. Hi, Carol. This is Robin Richardson, Yvonne Sneeden from, okay, told me how wonderful you are, and hi. Okay, so that's from personal lucite. Thank you. That's the word I was trying to, that lucite tube. Thank you so much. Can you talk about Bok Tower is connected to Atlantis? Yes, all I know is that I got to do more research, but there are people who go to Bok Tower all the time, and they go there with the crystals, and somehow Florida, this section of Florida and the West Coast and all of that is connected, whether it was an Atlantean colony or whether it was actually part of the physical Atlantis, I'm not sure. Okay, so that is it. I want to say namaste to everybody. Thank you for being part of this service. If you would also see that we do have a donation page on our center. Of course, for us to continue to do work that we do, we appreciate all your financial support for us to keep on doing this important work. And with that, I would say, stay on the road of righteousness. Exciting times in this days of Noah. See you again soon. Namaste.